KRA. Pia tutakuwa tunakusaidia kujaza fomu za kodi za mwaka 2024 na kukusaidia na huduma za KRA kwa mtaa wako. Jumamosi tarehe 24 mwezi Mei na Jumapili tarehe 25 mwezi Mei tutakuwa na mobile clinic pale Zion Mall, Eldoret Town. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
Shukisha msee.
Hapa hakuna stage.
Wala shukisha ama mimi kapiga nduru na pesa yako msilibi.
Mimi sitaki kisirani. Shuka. Shuka.
Poran. Wacha nipigia mtu wangu wa insurance akuje washughulikie.
Mtasign hizi forms. In a few weeks time mtakuwa mmepata fidia yenu. Poleni sana.
Kwani kampuni ya ipima ilifunga?
Unataka kusema hatutapata pesa?
Wewe na hizo unaangalia namna hiyo.
Policyholders Compensation Fund PCF ilibuniwa ili kufidia wadai wa kampuni ya bima ambayo imewekwa katika usimamizi wa kisheria au leseni yake imebatilishwa. Iwapo umejaza claim forms na insurance ikakubali kulipa lakini ikafungwa, tembelea tovuti ya www.pcf.go.ke kisha ufuate taratibu za kujaza claim na utasaidika kupata fidia. Policyholders Compensation Fund, dhamana ya bima yako.
The 22nd day of the 5th month, 2025 it is. Good afternoon and a warm welcome. This is the great KBC, just in time for KBC Lunchtime News. On a day we are also keeping tabs with the situation of activist Boniface Mwangi, who was detained in Tanzania, and as of yesterday we had no news in regards to his release. But my colleague Giverson Maina is on that beat, and later on I will be breaking the hearts of many Manchester United fans after they lost the cup last night. That plus much more, including business. My name is Njue. My colleague on the sign language interpretation is Lucy Mwaura. Straight to the news. Police and officers from the Kenya Wildlife Service in Samburu County have seized 47 kilograms of ivory that was being transported illegally using motorbikes in Maralal town. According to Samburu County Police Commander Dickens Njogu, the suspects who managed to flee the scene were intercepted in a coordinated operation. Authorities have urged locals to report any suspicious activity that may be linked to poaching and illegal wildlife trade.
During the arrest, the dealers shot at the officers, and the officers responded, and an exchange of fire followed. The dealers managed to escape, leaving behind 7 pieces of ivory weighing approximately 47 kilograms and a motorcycle red in color.
In other news, scrap metal dealers in Ruiru, Kiambu County have decried harassment by law enforcement agencies whom they accuse of frustrating their businesses. Speaking during a meeting of Night Scrap SACCO members, the traders led by Scrap Metal Council Chairman Francis Nganga said they are genuine licensed business people and deserve respect and protection like other enterprises.
We've received complaints in terms of harassment from the police, and we are going to work closely with the Inspector General of Police to make sure that those minor incidences of harassment are sorted out. We are also doing a lot of sensitization to our law enforcement agencies to make sure that they are also aware that scrap metal business is just like any other business in Kenya. And once a person is compliant is within the regulatory framework, he or she can engage in scrap metal business. The issues that we are urging members who deal in scrap metal across the country to avoid issues of vandalism.
Elsewhere, gender rights activists in Migori County have urged the national and county governments to enhance the justice system to help avert more cases of gender-based violence in the country. Speaking during a public participation forum in Migori County, Technical Working Group Chairman James Mambi called for increased funding for community-based organizations that are at the forefront in preventing and responding to gender-based violence and femicide at the grassroots level. Good financial and research resources, limiting their effectiveness.
As far as GBV is concerned, we note that there's already exist various legal framework, and the issue is basically coordination and implementation of the existing legislation. So we will recommend that maybe there's need to find a way on how coordination can be effectively done so that issues of femicide and GBV can be conclusively addressed in the nation.
One of the key gaps that were identified, or we have identified as a county, is that we don't have a specific way of documenting data that talks about gender-based violence and femicide. It is true we report these cases to the police, but then we need a streamlined data source or data bank where all this data can be found and can be used for research-based purposes.
Machakos County Governor Wavinya Ndeti has urged the national government to disburse adequate funds to counties to pay community health workers who are implementing Universal Health Coverage UHC. Speaking during the celebrations to mark Nurses Week in Machakos, Governor Wavinya Ndeti criticized the government's approach of transferring UHC personnel without allocating the necessary financial resources. She used the occasion to express deep appreciation for nurses, praising their unwavering dedication to saving lives.
The national government. If you want to devolve them with the money. Sinisao, hawezi kutuambia their contracts are ending next year, isn't it? Yes. They are ending next year March. Alafu natuambia to absorb na mjatupatia pesa. Sisi tunataka pesa. We are already in problems. They are our children, we love them. And by then they worked. Even when the doctors were on strike, they worked. Walinishikilia. Na mimi nawapigania pesa yao iteremke. Mimi niko tayari, I am ready to take mine. Sini sawa? Hao wangu niko tayari kufanya nini? Kuwachukua. Kwa sababu ni watoto wangu.
Moving on, the National Employment Authority NEA has confirmed it has conducted due diligence in securing overseas job opportunities for Kenyan youth, ensuring all recruitment processes meet the highest standards of integrity and transparency. Ruth Mailu, the officer in charge of employment services at NEA, said the authority has successfully partnered with reputable employers in Dubai who are ready to recruit qualified Kenyan youth. She spoke during a major overseas job recruitment exercise held in Kilifi County, which drew thousands of young job seekers. The event is part of the government's broader strategy to address youth unemployment.
Jobs that are here, and that the National Employment Authority together with the government have been recruiting to in various counties. It's not a scam. Our recruitment agencies are vetted, they are registered, and the jobs that they have are also attested.
Kenya ni kugumu, maisha si rahisi. Mtu kama mimi huwa nikisikia story kama hizo na venye niko nayo passport yangu hivyo, hata kama nafanya kazi zangu za mikono hapa na pale, kuna venye lazima nimejitokeza.
Some politics now, where a section of youths in Kwale County affiliated to the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, have urged political leaders to tone down political rhetoric and allow the government to deliver on its promises, led by Kwale ODM Youth Chairman Joseph Chiwaya. They also backed the formation of new political parties, saying they signify the growth of democracy in the country.
Ni wakati mwafaka kama wa Kenya tukaweze kufanya majadiliano mazuri, tukatafute mbinu nzuri, tukaongee, tukachambue kila kiongozi. Tusiangalie tu hizi pressure ama kila moja kila ambacho wana advocate. Lakini tuangalie, je, ni nani ambaye ile ambao anaongea, ile ambayo inatoka kwa mdomo wake inafanana na kile kitu ambacho anaweza kukifanya. Kuna wengine wana maneno mazuri ambayo tuliwasikia hata ule uchaguzi uliopita, lakini tukiangalia matendo yao ni tofauti.
Demokrasia ya Kenya imepanuka na chama pia kama kimeundwa, tunaomba hiki chama cha DCP kiwe cha maendeleo, kiwe chama kama kile cha UDA kiliformiwa na baada ya miaka mitano, kabla miaka mitano kuisha, mwenye chama wamefurukushana.
Now, the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions, Hospitals and Allied Workers, KUDEA, is now calling for the immediate halt of the ongoing layoffs at Moi University. The union say the ongoing redundancy actions, which have affected 382 of their members, have been executed unilaterally, undermining the spirit of social dialogue and mutual respect that should guide labor relations within reputable public institutions. The union has, however, expressed commitment to a constructive engagement with the university aimed at achieving a balanced and fair resolution.
Kufuta watu wetu kazi ambao ni 382 members. Tunasema ya kwamba tunakemea hilo jambo na tunasema ya kwamba the process yenye the Moi University ilitumia, the Moi University management ilitumia, sio ya haki. Tunaomba ya kwamba kama chama cha KUDEA warekebishe na watuite kwa mkutano ingine ambayo tutatumia njia ya haki na tujue ni kwa nini ile process walitumia, walikuja aje na hiyo process.
Laikipia County Governor Joshua Irongo has officially handed over a 1.5-acre parcel of land valued at 100 million shillings to Mount Angels Comprehensive School, beg your pardon. The land formerly housing a social hall will be used to support the school's long-awaited expansion, increasing its total area to 3 acres. The existing social hall will be relocated to the premises currently occupied by the Nyandarua County offices within Nyandarua Town. According to the school board chair, Elijah Gitahi, Mount Angels, a comprehensive school, has a population of over 1,400 students.
Ile shule iko na zaidi ya watoto 1,400 wale wamekuwa pale, na ile madarasa unaona pale imekalia 1.5 eka. Kwa hivyo kiwaje kidogo sana, watoto wa chekechea wamekuwa squeezed sana, na tena unaona hata kitchen inajengwa ndani ya madarasa hapo ndani, na kwa hivyo our kids are totally exposed to high risks kwa sababu hata kitchen iko hapo.
Mount Angels Primary School have been the best in this region for many years, but because of the small field that they have had, we have not been able to get or to engage ourselves into extracurricular activities.
For our next story, as I had mentioned earlier on, we will be keeping tabs with what is happening to activist Boniface Mwangi, who was detained by the Tanzania authorities soon as he landed in Tanzania around 4 or 5 days ago. My colleague Giverson Minor is keeping tabs with what is happening currently at Aga Khan Walk. Giverson Minor, good afternoon, and if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed with what is happening, or what do we know so far?
And we are coming to live from Nairobi CBD, actually at the Aga Khan Walk or the Aga Khan Hall on the other side. And the building in front of me is Kenya Re or Re Insurance Plaza, where the consular of Tanzania Republic or the neighboring country is located. And so far, we want to break news to you, the viewers, that Boniface Mwangi, the activist who has been held in Tanzania for a number of days after their detention on Sunday, has been released from Tanzania. And Boniface Mwangi, according to his allies and his friends or fellow activists, Boniface Mwangi has been found just a few hours ago in Kwale County in Ukunda. That is the news that we can break to you right now. And his health status rather is still unconfirmed, but people close to him say that he has been found in Ukunda and he's been taken to a hospital, or they're in the process of taking him to hospital. So far, we do not know which hospital, we do not know what status he's in, and we can also not say or authoritatively confirm that it's the Tanzanian police who brought him across the country or across the border from Tanzania to Kenya to Kwale or rather to Ukunda. We cannot say that, but the news that we've been able to receive is that Boniface Mwangi has been found in Ukunda in Kwale County, and he's in company of one activist, Hussein Khalid, together with a few his fellow activists who are actually trying to take Boniface Mwangi to a hospital and to check his health status. But earlier on, we were expecting to see activists here just in front of the Tanzanian consular who were actually planning to stage some protests or rather to try to speak to gain access to the officials of the Tanzanian consular to have information on the whereabouts of Boniface Mwangi. But since so far he's been led, but there is no any information coming from the Ministry of Information from Kenya or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Kenya or their counterparts from Tanzania. But so far, according to activists from Kenya, Boniface Mwangi has been found, and what they are doing currently is to try to take him to hospital so that his health status can be checked, and if maybe he's suffering from any illness or any injuries, that can be taken care of. And so far from here, my name is Giverson Maina. We do keep here just to ensure that we have the latest news from Ukunda and Kwale, just to check the whereabouts of, or rather the status of Boniface Mwangi.
Thank you, Giverson Maina, there live from just outside the consulate of Tanzania, right here in Nairobi. And breaking is that activist Boniface Mwangi has officially been released. Of course, we don't have any report in regards to that from the Tanzanian consulate or embassy, but he has been found in Ukunda, Kwale County. And what we know is that he was released after spending a couple of days detained in Tanzania. His health status is currently unknown, and he has been taken for medical checkup. And his fellow activists, including Hussein Khalid and others, are there with the activist as he's being taken through his medical checkup. We will be keeping tabs with what is happening and also expecting an official report from Tanzania. Elsewhere, a section of farmers from West Pokot County have staged protest over the delay of Ketraco to compensate them over 200 million shillings for land used in the construction of the Takwel or Tun Kapenguria Kitale power transmission line. The aggrieved farmers, backed by local leaders, claim they have waited for years without pay despite their land being taken for the national electricity project.
Smallholder tea farmers are being urged to avoid recycling seedlings, as this practice increases the risk of diseases and pests on their farms, leading to poor production. Instead, they are being encouraged to embrace certified seedlings that are disease-resistant and tolerant to varying climatic conditions.
Some of these seeds, when we recycle them, actually you are increasing the diseases.
Apologies for that mix-up. In that report, we will be bringing you the comprehensive report still on this broadcast. But moving on, a team from The Nairobi City County government, allegedly accompanied by hired goons, is said to have forcefully entered houses belonging to tenants in Kariobangi South, residents who occupy county-owned property, and confiscated their belongings over claims of rent arrears. Visibly shaken, the affected residents expressed shock at the operation, criticizing the county government for what they termed as disrespectful and forceful eviction process. While they acknowledged owing rent, they appealed for a more humane and structured approach and requested additional time to settle their arrears.
Situation imekuwa mbaya kwa mifuko ya watu wameandago mambo mingi. Ndio tuko na arrears, hatujakataa kulipa. Mwanzo, the way they treat their tenants, hata kama mtu unamdai, kumletea goons, harassment kwa nyumba, haifai.
Jambo ile ilitukia leo haikuwa mzuri, ni kwa maana ijapokuwa ni watu wa hapa walionyeshana busara, watu wa hapa wakawa wastaarabu, hawakugombana na wale goons waliletwa na City Council, ingekuwa kisa baya na kisa haigeeleweka. Walikuwa wengine hata vijana wamebeba silaha, vijana wengine wanakaa wakola.
Saa hii hizi madeni hii inatuangaisha huku, ni ile waiver Sonko alipeana Sakaja amerudisha. Yeah? Sasa hii unapata hadi watu wa county wanafurushwa kwa manyumba. Hiyo hatukubali. Sisi hata hatuna ubaya, tunaongea na uniformed police wa county au tuna cooperate nao.
In other news, a section of youths in Kwale County affiliated to the Orange Democratic Movement Party urged political leaders to tone down their political rhetoric and allow the government to deliver on its promises. I think that is something that we had already covered a little bit earlier on. But in other news, a proposed titanium mining project in Sabaki Ward in Kilifi County has sparked mixed reactions among residents and sand miners. While some support the initiative, others voiced concerns over land rights and lack of consultations.
A section of sand miners in Kibokoni area in Kilifi County, led by Safari Kadenge and Salim Gumbao, have thrown their weight behind the titanium mining project, citing job creation and economic development.
Tumekuwa na mikutano zaidi ya 4 tukielezwa jinsi ya faida ya madini haya ambayo yatakuja katika maeneo yetu. Hatuna doubt na hilo. Tunachotaka ni kwamba ni kiwango gani ambacho tunaenda kupewa sisi kama wakazi pamoja na vijana wetu ambao wamehustle hata kupata ile tanam ambayo iko pale katika timbo yetu.
However, not everyone is on board. Cultural and lands activists have raised red flags over the legality and transparency of the project.
Hapa kwetu Sabaki, mimi nina ushahidi wa kutosha. Haya malumbano yanazidi kurudisha maendeleo nyuma. Kwa sababu hata MCA, mimi nimeshapata dukuduku kwamba hawana maelewano na governor. Na ndio sababu miradi mingi hapa inatutatiza.
The group wants mining and blue economy Cabinet Secretary Ali Hassan Joho to revoke any license issued to the investor until a comprehensive public participation is done.
Nawaambia wale ambao ni investors, msiogope, tunawakaribisha 100% katika maeneo haya ili mradi huu usifeli. Tunataka yale yaliyofeli ule mwingine, huu tunataka uendelee.
Julius Ogina reporting for Channel 1.
Thanks, Julius, for that report. And we are now on our interactive segment where we will be looking at water and sanitation, especially for urban populations. But before we get to that, allow me to revisit our earlier story where a section of farmers from West Pokot County have staged protest over the delay by Ketraco to compensate them over 200 million shillings for land used in the construction of the Takwel or Tun Kapenguria Kitale power transmission line. The aggrieved farmers, backed by local leaders, claim they have waited for years without pay, despite their land being taken for the national electricity project.
Wakati walipochenga hiyo laini kutoka Takwel
kupitia mashamba ya wakulima, na tuliweza kusikilizana na tukaandikiana kwamba kwanza walisema mlete title deed zenu, alafu tulipeana na waliendelea kujenga laini hiyo mpaka wakati walipomaliza, na kabla hawajamaliza walituambia leteni hiyo title deeds, tukapeana, wakaenda kukaa nazo. Zile pesa tulisikilizana kila mkulima yake tofauti. Sasa wakaenda na hizo title deeds zetu, na chenye walituambia kwamba ninyi mtangoja title deeds zenu, tukirudisha kuna kitu inaitwa easement, na baada ya easement kuwekwa sahihi mtangoja siku 90.
Time to make sense of shillings and cents in business. KCB Group net profit remained flat in the first quarter of this year, weighed down by poor performance of its local subsidiaries and rising portfolio for non-performing loans. In the period, the bank posted net earnings of 16.5 billion shillings, slightly higher than the 16.48 billion shillings reported in the corresponding quarter in the year 2024. Total revenues jumped 2% to 49.5 billion, with the group's balance sheet closing the period at 2.03 trillion shillings. KCB international subsidiaries now contribute 32% of the group's total, reflecting its regional expansion strategy. Operating costs rose 7.8% to 22.7 billion shillings due to staff and tech investments. However, money set aside for bad loans dropped 11.3% thanks to a better loan management. The bank is in the process of selling its loss-making subsidiary, National Bank of Kenya, to Access Bank of Nigeria after it received regulatory approval from the Central Bank of Kenya. The lender plans to deepen its footprint in the Africa regional market. And on that shillings and cents note, let's take a quick break. But when we come back, I will be hosting Ed Michel, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Water and Sanitation for Urban Population, WSUP. We'll be talking about water and sanitation for the urban population, especially in big towns and some municipalities as well.
Imagine a future where you can enjoy the fruits of your hard work without financial worries. A time when you can truly relax, travel, and pursue your passions. To achieve that dream, you need to plan today. With the cost of living constantly rising and inflation showing no signs of slowing down, the money you need today will be nearly 10 times higher by the time you retire. Without a solid retirement plan, you risk financial insecurity when your active income stops. That's why saving for retirement is necessary. Regardless of your age, it's never too early or too late to start planning. Engage with experts from any RBA-registered individual pension plan for guidance in tailoring a retirement strategy based on your current lifestyle, future goals, and desired retirement age. This provides the fixed regular income you'll need after retirement to ensure you live comfortably without compromising your quality of life. The earlier you start saving, the more secure your future will be. Start saving for your retirement today and live your golden years the way you've always dreamed. For more information, visit our website www.rba.go.ke, call our toll-free line 0800 720 300 or email info@rba.go.ke. Secure your future. Secure your peace of mind. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
and we are talking about forgiveness. I know it is not easy. Sometimes people will not come and say sorry, but when we look at the Bible, it's very clear that there is a demand for us even to forgive.
As human beings, we don't know how to forgive, but learning from God, we can forgive. Forgiveness first helps you, ministers to you as a person, because it's like carrying a very heavy load, and when you put it down, there's that moment when you feel.
But what we don't understand, unforgiveness keeps on spreading in us, and it keeps on killing and making us bitter and not even better people.
Don't need to explain myself to you. And from today onwards, don't ever ask me any question about my life.
Just chill out. Don't stress over stuff you can't control. Question is, what's wrong with you?
I doubt you're what he needs right now. He's greatly disappointed in his father.
You're really enjoying this, aren't you?
This is beyond repair.
Is it? Because I forgive you when you walked in with a kid that's not mine.
Welcome back to Lunchtime News, and many thanks indeed for keeping me company. As I had mentioned before the break, is that we'll be looking at water and sanitation system, and especially when it comes to urban centers. You bear me witness that the population, and especially in Nairobi, has been on the rise for the last, let's say, 10, 15 years. I remember when coming to Nairobi more than 20 years ago, the population was about 3 million. Now it's about 5 million. And of course, the meager resources have to be shared, and especially water. And that is why we'll be keeping tabs with what is happening in water and sanitation system. And now allow me to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of Water and Sanitation for Urban Populations, or WhatsApp. That is Ed Michel. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on.
Welcome. Now, first things first, for many Kenyans who do not know exactly what WhatsApp does, what is your mandate here in the country, and how have you been able to manage? You have noticed that we have a serious water shortage in the sub-Saharan Africa, and especially in Nairobi because of the big population.
Yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. The growth of cities is one of the biggest challenges that many countries face. And of course, that's exactly the same here in Kenya. I think the data from the United Nations is that if you go back to the turn of the millennium, the number of people living in cities in Africa was 200 million, 210 million. Yep. Today it's 500 million, and in 25 years' time it'll be 1 billion. And if you think, even the best run utility or municipality really struggles to keep up with that level of population growth. We operate across 7 countries, 6 in Africa and 1 in South Asia, and we work with and through municipalities and utilities to help them and enable them serve their citizens, particularly in the low-income communities.
And what are the most urgent challenges facing water and sanitation systems in the country? I do remember when talk about sanitation, something that I had mentioned earlier on when we were off mic, is that we had flying toilets, and especially in the informal sectors. But I think that has been managed effectively, though we really need a lot to do. What exactly do you think are the major challenges that we are facing?
Yes, thank you. I mean, I first visited Kenya as a student nearly 40 years ago now, and the progress is extraordinary. That's the first thing to say. Real progress has been made. But if you look in Kenya and across sub-Saharan Africa, there are still many people without access to sustainable water and sanitation. Something like, more than half. More than 3/4 of the people actually don't have access to really safely managed sanitation. Many more have access to water. But the challenges are both the growth in the population and also climate change, which is making the availability of water so much less. So we do an awful lot of work, first of all, to save water. And that has the dual benefit, so that is working with the utility to stop leaks and also to prevent illegal connections and other sources of losses. And of course that has a dual benefit because it frees up water that is then available to supply into unserved areas, and it also builds the revenue base of the utilities and makes them more financially sustainable.
And I noticed that you have the 2025-2030 strategic plan. How does it gel with our systems, our water and sanitation systems, and especially to better the lives of those people living, and especially in the informal settlements? Allow me to just point out the informal settlements.
Yes, of course, and thank you for mentioning that strategic plan. We had a brilliant launch event yesterday, which was really lovely. It also coincides with water and sanitation for urban populations having existed for 20 years. And over that 20 years globally, we've helped 43 million people, which is a fantastic story for
That's almost the whole population of Kenya.
Well, and 1/4 of those people, nearly 9.9 million, are in Kenya. So we've had a big impact in Kenya alongside the other countries that we work in. It's been a privilege working here. We have a team of incredibly able Kenyans working in Kenya. But the challenges remain, and this plan that we've set out is our ambition for the next 5 years, but very much in partnership with others. This isn't something that we can in any way do alone. The key for us is that any change we make is sustainable and still there in another 25 years' time. And we think of water and sanitation not as coming out of a tap or being about a toilet, but being about the whole system that delivers that service. So it might be about customer service that's particularly appropriate for low-income communities who are maybe paid daily in cash rather than expecting a monthly bill. It's also about the logistics of running a water or a sanitation business. How do you do repairs? How do you make sure you've got the pumps and pipes? Many, many different aspects, which builds the capacity and the sustainability of the service provider, and also helps them engage with local private sector providers. Because if you take toilets in particular, in Kenya, very few people are connected to a sewer. Most people have what we call on-site sanitation. But of course, the front end of that is only one part. If you want safely managed sanitation, you have to have means of collecting the fecal sludge matter, transporting it safely and disposing of it appropriately.
And I've noticed that you have many projects, especially in the East African region. Specifically, I'm mentioning Kenya because I've noticed the population and the scarce resources, bearing in mind there's climate change, the water, even in estates, we are seeing the rationing of water. How are you supporting some of maybe utilities, like even Nairobi Water, in both water and sanitation?
So we are supporting currently 7 utilities across Kenya, but we also work with some of the national level bodies like WASREB, the water regulator. And for instance, because if we work with WASREB, for instance, and support them, that impacts on all 95 utilities that there are across all the counties in Kenya. So, for instance, we helped WASREB focus on low-income communities and have a key performance indicator that they rank all utilities against. It's called KPI 10. And in their annual reports now, all 95 utilities report on how they're doing in reaching their low-income communities. And that, of course, drives amazing performance in terms of a desire to extend services. Sanitation is always a little bit more complicated because there are many different routes to good sanitation. And as I've said, not many parts of Kenya are sewered. So there's a much more diverse economy, if you like, in the sanitation space. But we've been doing some really interesting stuff here on the team in Kenya have. For instance, in some of the low-income communities here in Nairobi, experimenting with something called simplified sewer systems, which are small bore flexible pipes which you can lay. If you think about an informal settlement, most of your viewers will have seen them, the space between the houses and the access is very, very limited. So you can't be digging up all those footpaths and putting in sewers. So we lay flexible pipes that can provide household level sanitation, tip flush toilets, and connect to the bottom end to the existing sewerage system. And that's something that our team have pioneered here in Kenya, and we're sharing those results elsewhere.
And I've noticed that Kenya allocates 0.5 of its GDP to matter sanitation. This is quite little if you compare that we are a country of about 55 million Kenyans. So how do we plug these gaps, and how do you come in as WhatsApp?
Financing water and sanitation is a hot topic everywhere. It is at home in England, where I'm based, and of course here in Kenya. The African Union recently made an estimate that the annual deficit, the annual gap in financing, is of the order of $60 billion US dollars for sub-Saharan Africa, not just for Kenya. And of course, as Kenya, commendably and notably has moved up the development ladder, is no longer a low-income country, sources of overseas development aid reduce. But there's a huge focus on international loans, on what is called blended finance, where you bring together commercial loans with other forms of income that give you an average interest rate that's lower than the commercial loan, and that's a good way of accessing finance. Our focus usually is on the financial sustainability of the utility and what they themselves can do to improve that by getting more customers, by treating those customers well, and therefore by getting more income in, which they can then reinvest in their business. Because domestic finance is increasingly, in a country like Kenya, as important as overseas development aid.
Let's go to a case study. Recently, you helped Nairobi Water establish a low-income unit that serves a number of districts. And how does this model ensure that there is a sustainability for underserved Kenyans, and especially, again, those in the informal sector?
That's a great example, and we supported Nairobi Water by paying for the original 2 staff of that unit. It now has, I'm not sure of the latest figure, but it now has many staff and the same status as any other division within Nairobi Water. And it focuses on how Nairobi Water can serve those low-income communities. So, for instance, as I've mentioned already, the customer service aspects of that, how you can engage with low-income informal communities living in difficult circumstances and bring them in as proper, legitimate customers of the utility. But many other aspects as well about network extensions, improving service to the communities. We've piloted and promoted prepaid water meters, so you have a little fob, you pay up front, you go to the kiosk and you press the fob against the kiosk, it dispenses 20 litres of water. So you know how much money you have left on your card. It's an easy way of managing your finances if you're living in one of those informal settlements while also having access to good quality water.
And finally, as we wrap up, what's the vision for Kenya's urban wash post 2025? Because you have a 5-year strategic plan. And what lessons can we borrow? Because when preparing this interview, I noted there are some very good lessons from Zambia and Mozambique that we can replicate here for sustainability as we wrap up.
So our vision is the same, I think, as the Kenyan government's vision, which is that all citizens, including those in the low-income communities, should have access to good water and safe sanitation. And the global targets around this, the Sustainable Development Goals, are also targeting that by 2030. We will do whatever we can to support that ambition. We do it through very practical activity on the ground, and because we operate in different countries, as you say, we're able to share experiences and learning that have worked well in one place and bring them into Kenya. But equally, I'm frequently using examples from Kenya with other governments, nationally and internationally, to find ways of solving these very challenging problems.
Yeah, very interesting conversation, especially when it comes to water, where everyone needs the water. And of course, Nairobi residents must be very keen on this interview because they have been experiencing water rationing, and of course, the slums the populations just keep rising. But thank you so much, Ed Michel, who is the CEO of Water and Sanitation for Urban Population, or WhatsApp. We are looking at water and sanitation systems, and especially in urban populations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, the Kenya Bureau of Standards say it will start enforcing new 2024 food safety standards that will start enforcing proper labeling of food, including nutrient composition of any food processed. KEBS Managing Director Esther Ngari says it will increase market surveillance to ensure quality controls over the food supply chain.
Every distribution channel that every consumer has the right to accessing safe products and to accessing products that are of good quality, and no consumer should access products which are not of good quality. And it is upon the distributors and the suppliers, the manufacturers, and all those people on the food chain to ensure that whatever gets to the consumer is of good quality.
Using food standards to contribute to the economic growth of this nation. We want the mama mbogas, we want everybody handling food to translate the losses they have been getting into money into their pocket.
Elsewhere, tea farmers in the Rift Valley region are said to easily access certified seedlings following the opening of a Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization in Kericho. Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, KARO, Deputy Director in charge of crops, Dr. Felicita Makini, is concerned that most farmers are growing their own seedlings, which are less productive and susceptible to diseases.
Smallholder tea farmers are being urged to avoid recycling seedlings, as this practice increases the risk of diseases and pests on their farms, leading to poor production. Instead, they are being encouraged to embrace certified seedlings that are disease-resistant and tolerant to varying climatic conditions.
Some of these seeds, when we recycle them, actually you are increasing the diseases, you're increasing the pests, and so you find actually your production is going down instead of increasing. So having clean materials is very, very important for you as you do any production, not just for some crops, but all crops, and in KARO you are able to access.
According to Robert Musyoki, the sales director at the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, the certified seedlings are tailored to suit specific agroecological zones.
These materials, these varieties, which are of high status, are known to be of good quality, good yields, when they have been developed, then there was need of making sure that they are produced and then availed in various regions where they are required. So Mkulima Shop concept was developed to ensure that when these seeds, certified seed, high quality seeds have been produced, they can reach to the farmer, to the richest farmer, to the nearest place where possible.
Sylvia Gatti, reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Now, fishmongers in Homa Bay County are eagerly awaiting the official opening of a newly constructed modern market expected to accommodate over 5,000 traders. The market, to be inaugurated by President William Ruto ahead of this year's Madaraka Day celebrations, is expected to improve trade and boost earnings.
Watakuwa wanauzia, pia kuna sehemu za kuoshea, kuna sehemu pia ya kukulia hii samaki. Samaki tunakuja kuipikia hapa. Halafu zaidi ya yote, wavuvi wote, chumba chao kiko hapa. Tunaona kweli samaki ikitoka hapa baharini, inaletwa hapa, inaoshwa. Kisha ikishaoshwa inawekwa tena kwa barafu. Tuko na cold rooms zaidi ya 4. Na hizi cold rooms zote, hakuna samaki kuharibika ikitoka baharini.
Further afield, U.S. President Donald Trump and House Republicans continue to negotiate a far-reaching tax and spending bill on Wednesday, holding discussions at the White House ahead of a potential vote. Trump and his staff spent several hours with members of the House Freedom Caucus who have refused to support a bill they say does not go far enough in cutting spending. More details next in our International Business Roundup.
The Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add about $2.3 to the U.S. national debt over the next 10 years. Negotiators worked all through the night on Tuesday, including a meeting of a House committee, which began at 1 a.m. local time Wednesday. Because Republicans hold a narrow majority in the House and Democrats uniformly oppose the legislation, Trump can only risk losing a handful of votes from his party. He and congressional allies are also under the pressure of self-imposed deadline to get the bill passed by the end of the month, which is now 10 days away. After it wins approval in the House, the bill will head to the Republican-led Senate, which could make its own change. Investors are increasingly concerned about the potential for China to invade Taiwan, especially with the current geopolitical climate. Although historically considered a low probability event, the risk is now being factored into investment strategies. Concerns have been amplified by rising tensions and recent military exercises by China. Foreign investors have already pulled billions of Taiwan's stock market, and the difficulty of hedging against such a scenario leaves them with a stark choice: either to maintain their positions and endure potential volatility, or withdraw to protect their capital. Finally, Canada's major banks are anticipated to have increased their loan loss reserves in the second quarter, with 4 of the big 6 settling aside over $1 billion Canadian to buffer against potential loan defaults amid trade uncertainties. This move to increase reserves is expected to impact earnings. While some banks are projected to see profit declines, others are expected to show an average earning growth of nearly 8%. Analysts attribute this cautious approach to the volatile economic outlook influenced by U.S. tariff policies, leading to a slower loan growth and reduced investment banking activity. Provisions for credit losses are expected to have risen significantly across the board.
It's time to play. Nairobi City Thunder resumed their quest for their first win in the ongoing 2025 Basketball Africa League Nile Conference group matches against the undefeated Al Ahly Tripoli at the BK Arena today. They nearly broke their winless streak against MBB of South Africa in Tuesday's match, but squandered an 18-point lead to lose the match by a narrow margin of 75-74. That was their third loss into the season after falling to host APR 92-63 and Al Ahly Tripoli all by 115-87 points. The Kenya basketball men's reigning champions are also set for another rematch against MBB on Saturday before they wrap up their campaign against APR on Sunday. The top 2 teams from the round-robin matches will qualify for the Basketball League Africa Playoff Finals scheduled in June in Pretoria, South Africa. After our basketball team lost last night, it was not the only team that lost last night, and it was a heartbreaking night for Manchester United fans as the Red Devils were beaten by a solitary goal, 1-0 by Tottenham Hotspur of England as well in the UEFA Europa League final. The match, which was played at the iconic San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao in Spain, saw Spurs clinch their first major European title in 17 years thanks to a decisive goal by Brendan Johnson. Take a look.
Fernandez plays it in. Vicario couldn't keep it. Hoyler! Goal kick. Now or never.
And with this smile, you know that I'm not a Manchester United fan. One of my directors, Maurice Midamo, is quite appalled by what happened last night. And one of my cameramen, actually, Scott Dennis, has just left just before I read this news. But the cup is in North London with Tottenham Hotspurs, but we always say there's always a next time, and as Arsenal, as we say, there's next season. My name is Bentro Njue. Many thanks indeed for joining us. My colleague on the bottom right of your screen has been Lucy Moura. Many thanks indeed for joining us, and don't forget to check out our social media spaces for this news plus much more. We're keeping tabs with a lot, which we'll be bringing you a little bit later, including that breaking news that we earlier heard of activist Boniface Mwangi, who has just been found, not released, found in Ukunda, Kwale. Many thanks indeed. Have yourself a blessed afternoon.
Uliwaua mbwa wa Bwana Undie Kinyukakota baada ya kukufuta wewe kazi.
Si hata nakuchua. Kuna mahali tumeonana na wewe.
Hatujaonana.
Alafu
hebu jiangalie vizuri.
Hatujaonana, mimi sikuchua. Sasa maji kama sisi kamera ilikuwa inasema mambo ya urongo.
Urongo aje na ni wewe hapo na hiyo tai yako bado.
And don't shout on me. Wewe. Seriously. Unamwambia kile jipe nguvu.
Unasikia amewaita Rectioners na nani?
Na Bruno. Mungu alipinatamu na unamwambia jipe nguvu. Lazima nisipike mswaki. Hii imagine. Hiyo ndio kazi niliokea mheshimiwa.
Give na chance nikushike namna hii.
Wewe.
You have 3 meetings.
Just cancel all of them.
Nimeona Dan.
Where? Amesema ninge job kesho. Ngware, mapema.
Wewe, hapa ndo ulikuja kazi?
Madam,
Can you go back to the office right now? Why do you keep defending Agnes?
Nilidhani nina shida ndogo lakini zako ni kubwa sana. I'm in trouble. Kachumbari si mboga na haipashi moto. Do you know that I can sue you for defamation? I mean dissertation. What did that guy say?
You and Dan had a relationship?
All I did was save Dan's life.
Can you do your dirty work without getting my people into your messes?
The law will handle the rest.
Nini naendelea hapa? Dan!
If you could make the time for us, this is Health and Lifestyle, where we talk all matters health. My name is Marie Yambo. At KBC Channel 1 on X and KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook is where to interact with us. Now, autism spectrum disorder is a lifelong condition that affects how a person's brain works, making it harder for them to communicate, interact socially, and adapt to changes. People with autism may have unique ways of learning, thinking, and even reacting to the world. And with the right support, they can thrive and lead a fulfilling life. Coming up in this program,
autism is not a disease. The only thing they need is just a cuddle and the best love.
A mother's journey discovering her child's autism.
We'll need now to remove some sample from the fetus that is growing inside you or just the amniotic fluid. So you find now when we combine the ultrasound markers and the blood markers. So we look at commonly, especially the 3 conditions. The most common that most people are aware of is something like Down syndrome.
And how new imaging breakthroughs could detect autism before birth. A warm welcome once again into our first segment. For Mama Tiffany, motherhood was everything she dreamt of. But when her daughter, Tiffany, began to grow, she noticed she was experiencing the world in a little bit different way. After months of denial and searching for answers, Mama Tiffany's journey led her to a diagnosis of autism, a world that brought both challenges and unexpected discoveries. Let's listen to her story.
Yes, Mama, hi. We'll go, okay? Yes, we are going right now, okay? Yes.
She speaks gently to her, giving her the attention she needs.
When you give her full attention, that is what they love. And she'll become free and she'll be open to tell you anything. she feels like she's very safe with you once you are open to her. Mom, yes.
Lynette is a mother of 2. Tiffany is her second daughter. On this day at the Tattoo City, they joined families and autism advocates to raise awareness about autism. She has learned to live in Tiffany's world, she says.
When I was in my world by then, an example is unaingia kwa nyumba, unakunywa chai, unaweka hapo kikombe and unajipea shughuli. For Tiffany, it does not apply that way. No. You finish taking tea, take that cup to the sink. That is where it's supposed to be, yeah. If you tell her go to the kitchen and bring me a clean cup, she knows it's supposed to be there. If you change position of that cup, tantrums, yeah. And it's always triggered by something very small and very silly things. Where toa viatu ama socks urushe hapo. She will not tell you, but you will see her going to pick it, putting it in the right place. So I moved into that world. She has taught us to be perfectionists. Hata sister yake kwa nyumba anajaribu kuachilia kikombe hapo, ana watch movie, Tiffany ashatoa amepeleka kwa sink.
Tiff, as she's fondly called by her family, was diagnosed with autism at 2 years.
When she was born at the age of 0 to 2 years, everything was okay. Up to 2.5 years, 2 years, 5 months, 6 months, she started becoming hyper. She had no fear of height. She would climb anywhere. She would start eloping, like you blink of an eye, and disappear. You would start looking at her. Mnamtafuta everywhere. She wouldn't go at the end of uniletele kitu urudi home. She did not know how to come back home. Yeah. Then her speech really delayed. Yeah, she had very funny speech, funny words, like alikuwa tu ana utter some words that you could not understand. And I'm like, why is she not like other normal kids? Mom, dad, baba, mama.
Autism is a brain development disorder that impairs social interaction and communication and causes restricted and repetitive behavior.
So, Mom. Yes? Yes, Mama. I would want people to know that autism is not a disease. Autism is not a curse. Autism is not a punishment from God. Yeah. Autism is there. The only medicine for autism is managing it and accepting it. The journey will be so smooth. I've seen people trying to cure it. Okay, personally, I have tried it when I was in denial. Ulikuwa unasikia unaambiwa kuna daktari in Tanzania and he'll make your child talk. We went there, coming back hoping for something. When you are in denial, you'll walk the whole of this world. Yeah, but once you go for those counseling, once you've been told and accepted what autism is not a disease. The only thing they need is just a cuddle and the best love. That one, you'll go very far with the kid.
It is normally diagnosed by the time a child is 3 years. However, while prenatal ultrasounds can't directly detect autism, they can identify certain fetal anomalies in the second trimester that have been linked to a higher risk of later autism diagnosis.
I wish that Tiffany was, before birth, I was told that you are going to have this kid with this condition. I would have prepared myself psychologically. Because being told after you've stayed with this kid for some time, it's traumatizing. We go into depression. We go into denial. We go into very bad states, health states.
It's not all doom and gloom. Autism comes with its difficulties, but can also bring advantages, particularly regarding attention to detail.
Autistic kids are genius. Once they focus or once they put something here, it never goes out. Yes. Especially, that is why we are told, like, routine. When you do routine with her, everything will flow. Wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, make your bed, take tea, put on your uniform, we now go to school. That is the daily routine. For these kids, you have to show them barabara moja. Going to school, going to church, going to the shop. show them one barabara, because once you divert, inapotea, they lose direction. When she finds herself somewhere that she doesn't know, she'll now start going everywhere, like they don't look back, anaenda kwenda.
A teacher by profession, Tiffany's condition has been a motivation for her mother to pursue special needs education to support her daughter.
Before getting into her world, it was very hard. It was very difficult because she was going east, I was going west. I wanted her to do things my way. I wanted her to walk my way. But the moment I went back to school and I was taught, now I became a student and learned about autism, life is smooth. She's one of the best girl that has the best handwriting in her class. Yes. Autistic kids are very neat, very organized, and they're very clean. So when it comes to handwriting, she's the best.
Negative judgment associated with autism is something the family has had to grapple with. And have you ever judged someone for not being a good parent? This is what Lynette would like you to know.
So stigmatization is there. It's real. We have people who have no knowledge about autism. I would go to a public place and people would look at you very funny. Huyu mama hajalea mtoto vizuri. Mtoto wako kona tabia mbaya, you know. Unaona ile yenye sisi huwa tunaenda tunalia bedroom chini ya kitanda tunajificha. Hawajui hiyo. For them, if it is in a public place, what a scream. They will tell you, Mom, I want to go to the toilet. Or akiona amekazwa sana atatoa hapo, you know. So let's not judge. Yeah, because these kids are real.
Indeed, a mother's story of discovery that reminds us that every child sees the world in their own extraordinary way. So what do others know about autism? Let's listen in on Word on the Streets.
From the word go, when someone would mention autism, I'll relate it to a genius person because they are able to grasp things that I'd say are out of the world.
Most of the activities we're planning around him. Yes, even when we are planning a place to go, we have to think about what is likely to give him a sensory overload, what is likely to affect his behavior. We have to check the safety measures around. So definitely, I would say life partially revolves around him.
I find most of these kids very, very brilliant. One thing that is clear, they interact differently from other kids. They behave differently. So as parents, it needs a lot of patience because you need to understand them, which is not easy.
Well, on that note, we take a break, but we'll be back with much more, including the good practice and also a doctor who will be explaining to us how, technological advancement is helping to detect autism right in the womb.
They say the earth without art would just be, get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Uliwaua mbwa wa Bwana Undie Kinyukakota baada ya kukufuta wewe kazi.
Hata nakuchua. Kuna mahali tumeonana na wewe.
Hatujaonana.
Alafu
hebu jiangalie misuri.
Hatujaonana mimi sikuchua. Sasa maji kama sisi kamera ilikuwa inasema mambo ya urongo.
Urongo aje na ni wewe hapo na hiyo tai yako bado.
And don't shout on me.
Wewe.
Seriously. Unamwambia kia jipe nguvu.
Unasikia amewaita Rex na sijui na nani?
Na Bruno. Umbo lipinatamu unamwambia jipe nguvu. Lazima nisipike mswaki. Imagine, hiyo ndio kazi niliokea mheshimiwa.
Give na chance nikushike namna hii.
Wewe.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. For decades, autism has been a mystery doctors could only begin to unravel after a child was born. But now, cutting-edge imaging technology is unlocking clues even before birth. Doctors are using advanced imaging to spot early markers of autism that could help diagnose and even guide early support before a child takes their first breath.
This aspect of the prenatal screening, and also we call it counseling, you find that in the first part, before a mother gets pregnant, we always prefer that we get to interact with the mother to just look at her family history, whether they have any condition that can affect her pregnancy, meet the mother immediately they get pregnant, and there are a number of tests we do to the mother just to confirm her health status. And then within almost 10 weeks to 14 weeks of pregnancy, we are able to do an ultrasound, and we are able to do some blood tests to find out whether there are some genetic conditions that the baby she's carrying has.
Just like you've already explained it, doing a prenatal or antenatal ultrasound or screening for that matter can be very, very important, not just for the child, but also for the mother who's going to be taking care of this child. But maybe you need to emphasize more, especially to women, because they are the ones who are going to carry the pregnancy, and women are the ones who take care of the babies. But, I mean, the man also still needs to be part and parcel of it. But then just emphasize the importance of having antenatal clinics and the screening as well.
So you find that within the blood screening, at around almost 10 weeks of pregnancy, there are some markers, or we call them biomarkers, within the bloodstream of the mother, whereby we check. Example being, there's one called alpha fetal protein, there's one called beta HCG, there's one called estradiol, and then another one called PAPA. So you find we do those tests to help us screen pregnancies that are at risk. We find that in a normal pregnancy, some of those levels that I've mentioned, they are normal. In an abnormal pregnancy, there are some levels that are significantly high or some that are significantly low. So when we do those blood levels and we get a suspicion based on the indicators, that one is high, very high, indicating that this baby may have a problem, we categorize that pregnancy as being high risk. And then now we go ahead. The next step is at around almost 11 weeks, between 11 and 14 weeks, now we will do an ultrasound. Within that ultrasound, there are